What's up, Shy? See, you're in here. What's up, guys? So usually Monday nights we go live on the YouTube channel. I'm just going to hop on TikTok tonight. It is streaming from the YouTube channel, of course. So if you want to check it out, youtube.com/MuteTheMedia. Check out the link tree. You can click on that. It's in the bio of my TikTok page, and you can find it there. What's up, Just Edie? Going pretty well. Got the day off, so I've been relaxing today, trying to get ready for the week. How about you? How you doing? Also appreciate you guys who are always sending those likes in. Good looks. If you want to share the stream with some people, let's get them in. It'll be a fun little Q&A. I'm going to go for 30 minutes to an hour tonight. Depends on how the conversation is. So, doing well? Nice. Hey, what's up, Adam? Been a minute, bro. How are you? How's everyone doing tonight? See a few familiar names hopping in already. Boom, boom. Yeah, send it out to a few more people. So if I miss a comment, I'll get to it. Just going to send this out to a few friends who might be live right now or on right now. Boom, 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 boom. Tired but good. Yeah, I feel that. Tired but good. Severe weather heading your way. Where are you at? What kind of severe weather? Because I'm in California, Northern California area. It's just hot as all heck right now. Here, I blocked the Love Doctor. I didn't block the Love Doctor. Mikey? No, I didn't block Mikey. I didn't block Mikey. From Ohio? Okay. What do you guys got, like some thunderstorms? Oh, tornadoes, even worse. Dude, tornadoes kind of creep me out, man. I appreciate that, Mikey. Thank you. Harsh. I had you in mind, Elizabeth. So this all effed up. You're right. I just hate myself and want company. How introspective of you. What's up, socials? How you doing? Been a minute. In New Mexico, 7 days without rain. Yeah, that's not good. I mean, the west of United States of America is going to be pretty rough this summertime. So, craziest thing I've heard, Amber Heard. I mean, we can believe things, right? And then kind of look into them and see if there's like evidence, things to corroborate the claim. But I think in general, yes, given the statistics, your best bet is to believe someone until, indications or otherwise, because Amber Heard situations are far more rare. One of the dangers of this is because it's such a like massive thing in the public eye. People are probably going to over extrapolate this when it comes to like how often like false accusations and things like that are made. So I don't hate America. See, that's what people don't understand. I love this country so much that I'm willing to criticize it, right? So once upon a time, dude, I was like super rah conservative, super like America's the greatest. Northern California, like we're the best country ever, and it's like we're not for a variety of reasons, right? If you look at the historical realities, if you look at the kind of foundations this country is built upon, not good, right? If you look at how that still impacts us to this day, not good. If you look past kind of the red, white, and blue propaganda that we get, right? That kind of Uncle Sam BS that we get, right? And you start to look at things for how they really are. It's not the story we think it is. And so there's countries that have better infant mortality rates, right? There's countries that have, better education rates. There's countries that just do things better in terms of like healthcare as a whole than us, right? There's countries that have better economic freedom than us, even, right? There's countries that have better press freedom than us. Like if you look at these things, which you can find metrics on it, we're not first in a lot of things. So we are really good at mass incarceration, though. We're good at that. We're good at gun violence. We're good at that. Like, we're good at funding a lot of like proxy wars across the globe. We're good at that. So why would you leave when you can try and improve something? So why would I move? Why not just stay here and piss you guys off and try and improve things and make us better, make us what we could be? See, some people are content just to be not that great. The irony is you take pride in something simply because you were born here, right? Had you been born on like a different side of the line, you probably think that country was the greatest, right? You'd be the same person rooting on Nazi Germany without any thought because it just happened to be where you were born, and you'd eat the standard line, "We're the best." It's cute, though. Talk is cheap, right? It is cheap. Like all that, we're the best talk, super cheap. No doubt about it. Versus developed nations, not the way. Solution to extort is valid for the greater good. That's my solution. Interesting. Interesting. This live is so triggering. And I do mean the word triggering. I don't usually get this many trolls, but that's cool. I got a lot of hairs out of place. So my thoughts on the shooting down in Texas. Same thing I just said about the Amber Heard kind of Johnny Depp thing in terms of media coverage. I think that mass shootings get overplayed in media to the point that people fear them more than we need to statistically. That being said, obviously we have a mass shooting issue, right? Two things can be true. But if you really care about gun violence, I'm not sure that mass shootings are where we need to point to, right? Mass shootings would constitute less than 1% of gun deaths in this country. So I know people like to talk about, like people like to push back. Oh, it's like not a mental health issue. Yeah, there's a mental health component to this because if we're talking gun violence at large, right, suicide's a big part of the conversation. We need to look at domestic violence, gang violence, robberies. There's a lot of things we need to look at. Mass shootings we need to look at still because of who gets targeted and some of the motivations there. But like the whole ban guns reaction to these things, I don't think makes a lot of sense personally. We have 400 plus million guns in this country already. So you don't really have like a realistic solution, in my opinion, to like do something about that, even if you wanted to. So we'd probably be better off just making sure that certain people don't have access to weapons that they shouldn't, or at least making it tougher to gain access. I'm not saying like make it super difficult. I'm just saying maybe like make sure like, we don't have loopholes for background checks, right? Maybe make sure we have limitations on high capacity magazines. Maybe make sure that you have to get like a training and safety, certification, things like that. So what college did I go to? Sac State. I haven't finished up yet. Communications and philosophy. Main emphasis is communications, like interpersonal, small groups. Mass media is my main area. So I like to look at media, how it impacts our cognition, our behavior, right? Our actions, things like that. No, I'm not Jewish, agnostic, atheist. And then in terms of ethnicity, I'm half Iranian, half Mutt. So, oh, what's up, Rational History? Yeah. How you doing, man? No one walked on the moon. That's an interesting take. So battle lines, we do have background checks, but there's loopholes, right? So for example, you still have like private gun sales, there is gun show loopholes. And in some states, like you have a fairly significant amount of the population that can access guns without a background check. That's kind of like why it's like, when we look at things opposite, like mass shootings, oftentimes they're legally obtained. So maybe raise like the age limits like 21 or something. I don't know, just throwing ideas out there, right? Because again, I don't want to do like blanket gun bans, in my opinion, because obviously if you land like in my camp politically, this is something I've talked about a lot in the last few months. If you like within the gun control conversation, if you land in our camp, right, you're going to point to something like January 6th. That's a big deal, right? You're going to point to the cops, police brutality, and use of force, and that's a big deal, right? And then you're going to point to things like what happened in Portland last year, right, with Chad Wolf, DHS, and unmarked federal cars, things like that. That's a big deal. You're going to talk about domestic terrorism in the form of white nationalism, right? That's a big deal. So I don't think the option is to get rid of guns when we know all these groups are armed and are going to stay armed. I think it's just about getting smarter within this conversation. So, I mean, that's just false. So they say January 6th isn't a big deal compared to Black Lives Matter riots. I mean, for starters, so the whole Black Lives Matter riots thing, a lot of that narrative was kind of like driven by Trump's administration, right? And they'd point to things like Portland. If you look at DHS's crime log, they released a crime log of the people they arrested, so federal agents arrested in Portland during that summer. About 85% of it, maybe 80% of it was graffiti. So they would be like violent anarchists committed acts of graffiti, right? So they played you guys. If you look at the totality of Black Lives Matter's protests and gatherings, I believe less than 5%, might even be less than 3%, had like any crime attached to it. Oftentimes when there was crime attached to it, these things were exacerbated by cops or right-wing saboteurs who were embedded within the movements and things like that. So a lot of y'all just got played by media. You got played by right-wing media, Trump's administration, and their lies because they wanted to sell up the law and order pitch for their election push since they're doing so bad on COVID and it was hurting their numbers. But hey, what are you gonna do, right? Now my occupation, right now I work at a restaurant and I coach soccer. I did see those fascists get arrested. You're talking about the Patriot Front, those 31 people out in Idaho, right? Yeah, happy Pride, everyone. Be safe out there, right? We know that those will be targeted. Matt, what cities got torched? Could you let me know what cities got torched? Like, I've been to Portland many times. It's on the West Coast. It's pretty close to me. Many times since those supposed burnings. Nothing got torched, bro. Appreciate that, reasonable dictator. Yeah, it's absolutely proven, Jeff. Proven. I know. But is it, yeah, to be fair to these people, oftentimes it's people who live like in little podunk towns, but there's nothing wrong with that, who've like never left their home, if even their couch, right? And they just watch like scary right-wing media who just like, if they say something burned down and show the same clip every freaking day, they're like, oh my God. And it's like, no, bro, it's a really big city. And yeah, there's some extreme shit. So like I was referencing the DHS crime log, right? So there was like 200 plus people arrested. I said 80% of it was, this is off the top of my head, someone can check me. I said 80% of it was about like what, graffiti and shit like that. Maybe like 5% was serious, right? So like attacks on officers, attempted arson, things like that. So obviously like some serious things happen, no doubt about it, but it gets way overblown, right? Way overblown. It's just how I was saying, the same group will say mass shootings get overblown and point to statistics, same exact thing, right? People see something they don't like in the news and they over extrapolate. What January 6th BS? Here's the thing, man. Like, so all you guys, rah, USA is the best kind of people. You probably think the US is like the greatest democracy in the history of man, right? And make no mistake, we're a democracy because there's different forms of a democracy, and we're a constitutional republic, which is the form of a representative democracy, right? Not a direct democracy. So you probably think we're the greatest representative democracy ever. And the backbone of a democracy is the peaceful transition of power, right? This is a governmental structure, a framework that allows you to have disagreements, right? To allow different parties which represent different ideas to exchange power and things like that. So when an outgoing president wants to shit on that after 200 plus years of tradition and wants to maintain power and is willing to go to lengths that Trump did, right? Utilizing his big lie. And then when you have supporters actually act upon that in violent ways to the point that Capitol Police are nearly overran and stuff like that, that's a big deal. Now, if you don't think so, that's okay, right? But you're severely misguided. So, Max, I just explained it for you, bro. So we're a constitutional republic, which is a representative democracy. This is not difficult to understand. No, of course it's not okay, Shark. The truth is, people who still think the election was stolen are fascists or fascist sympathizers. And you can't really talk to people like that because they live in an alternate reality. And at this point in time, facts don't really mean anything to them, right? Like you can literally show them the images and they won't care. You can give them people's firsthand accounts and they won't care. So 2000 Mules is a fakementary from Dinesh D'Souza, who's already showed himself to be a completely unreliable narrator on things in life. Even further, their evidence is severely lacking, right? Like they look at like, what is it, the how they track like people's movements and stuff like that. Like who's to say someone doesn't just like live in the vicinity and is like has to drive by that every day? Who's to say it's not people who have to work the ballot boxes and stuff like that who are not there a decent amount? Like it doesn't actually prove anything unless you want it to prove something, but it's all good. Oh, dude, exactly. That's kind of the funny thing about this, right? You're like, oh, the election was stolen. It's like, all righty, man. So the election was stolen, but we have local and state election commissions, which have automatic recounts, automatic audits. Plus, you can demand for those things, right? You can demand for taxpayer-funded recounts and audits and things like that. Nothing comes back. You have state and federal courts, which oftentimes had Republican majorities, or even, a lot of a judge put in by Trump himself, who shot down all of this, right? The federal government, right, the executive branch, which was ran by Trump at the time. So his departments, right? So like CISA, DHS, all these things with people put into place by Trump, They said nothing happened. Trump's own people, right? There's a tweet from Trump, I think in December, where he acknowledges it was the most secure election because he's so narcissistic. He wants credit for that. But in the same tweet, then says, and it was stolen. He admitted it, right? Slip of the tongue there. He can't help himself. The Senate and the House have investigative bodies. Nothing turns up. Plus, you have third party election watchdog groups, which aren't even attached like our government, which looking on these things. They say nothing was there. But you know who says it? Donald Trump, the narcissist who can't take his L. Since he said it, it must be true. Meanwhile, he keeps on raising money off you guys, the tunes of like $250 million plus dollars. But hey, whatever, man. Grifter's going to grift and silly's going to buy into it. So. But then I also just go with this. Fine. Here's the next thing. You guys are all weak. All right. So let's say you're right. Let's say that you're right about it. The election was stolen. The election being stolen would be a pretty tyrannical act, which is like the kind of thing your Second Amendment's there for. So why weren't all you guys there January 6th? Why don't your actions match up with your beliefs? Your beliefs are false, but if you really believe it, that's a serious ass accusation. Why don't you act on it instead of hanging out in my TikTok comment section crying about it? Because that's not very hardcore, man. That's just weak. You're submitting to tyranny. So either way, it's just like clowny, right? Like I said, there's nothing to back up your claims. And if you believe the claims anyways, go act on it. See how it works out for you. No, because over 60% of Republicans believe the big lie. So if you believe that your election was stolen, you believe that a tyrannical act is taking over your government. Like you believe that authoritarianism is coming your way, right? Again, you have to look at how democracies rate out, how republics rate out. And if you don't have that peaceful transition of power, either through violence or through like nefarious, like stolen means and stuff like that, you don't have the republic you think you have. So at that point in time, peace would be a farce anyways, right? Because your mechanism to maintain peace is being violated. So. But again, it's all good, man. You know, the cool thing is, if you don't believe what I'm saying, feel free to look it up and post your source. I think it's 63%. Of course, the host stats are accurate. I don't just spew BS. If I don't know, I just say I don't know. And if I get something wrong, it was Pew. Pew and Gallup have done polls on this, and lots of people have. So, and again, I'm open to being wrong about things. I get things wrong all the time. The difference between you and I, those who are upset about my stats, is when you get definitively proven to be wrong, you just keep saying the same thing. When I'm definitively proven to be wrong, I have to readjust. I'm like, shit, bad look for me. All right, let's reconclude now that we have better evidence or better data. So, oh, dude, you did the meme, bro. 4.20 Lenny 89. You did the meme. That's awesome. I don't really watch the Young Turks. I know people like them. Some people like them, but I don't really watch them. I don't like their name either, because like the Young Turks within history kind of committed genocide. So kind of a weird thing to name yourself after. But Biden is a real president. He's also a really bad president. But I mean, two things can be true, right? There's some truth to that, no doubt, Adam Echo, right? I mean, the hard part is parsing it out. Like, so obviously Eileen left, shocker, right? I've only voted for a Democrat at the national level once in my life. And that's because Trump was so uniquely awful. So I was forced to vote for, not forced, I chose to vote for stinky Biden, right? Because I don't support Biden. He looked us in the face and said nothing's going to fundamentally change. He's been on scene for 40 years. We understand that he believes in bipartisanship with the Rogue Party. He believes in corporate entities, right? He believes in the U.S. machine as it's been constructed and done things for a long time. So yeah, I don't fuck with Joe Biden, but I don't fuck with the hyper narcissist in office either, right? It's just too destructive. So sometimes you got to suck it up. Also, in 2016, because I'm in California, I had the privilege of being able to vote third party because I'm in California. My vote goes blue. But had I been in a battleground state, I'd have to rethink that, right? But 2020, I mean, was too much. I was like, yo, this is too much, bro. We got to show in numbers that we don't want this guy, even if like my vote's going blue regardless. So, We weren't doing good as a country. So, you know what I heard? So, here's the funny thing. I grew up conservative, right? I grew up with a lot of conservative family on mom's side who really impacted my views and stuff. I remember growing up, I always heard that the 1990s were so great because of Ronald Reagan's policies, right? So, if that's true, if we accept that logic, then wouldn't this time period be so bad because of Donald Trump's policies, right? It takes a little bit of time for things to kind of have an impact, and then we see the outcomes. So you guys really just kind of flip flop. It's really funny how that works, right? When it's like, oh, things weren't great during Reagan's time, but immediately after, because of things that weren't to do with him or Bill Clinton, it must have been Reagan who did that. But now it's like, oh, it must be Joe Biden. And again, Joe Biden sucks, bro. I don't like Biden. I don't like some of the things he's trying to do. I don't like his rhetoric on cops. I don't like his foreign policy. I think he's kind of weak on foreign policy. Um, I don't like Joe Biden, bro. But let's be real about the pandemic and that kind of how that impacted our economy. Let's be real about our pandemic response, how that's impacted our economy, right? So, yeah, Biden was a terrible option, man. Terrible option, no doubt about it. A lot of people I would have voted for before him, but I think that's the difference too, is because like your hate for Trump supporters has got to hurt. No, it doesn't hurt at all. Compared to Carter, Reagan was great. I don't know though, man. Was Reagan great? A lot of bad things got going under him. First of all, like deficit spending was off the charts under Reagan, right? That's not good. But I guess we only care about the deficit when it's a Democrat in office, right? As opposed to just caring about everyone. So that wasn't great. We could look at the war on drugs and how that's impacted police spending, how that's impacted mass incarceration, how it's decimated certain communities. That wasn't good, right? Wasn't Reagan that guy who helped take away gun rights in California when he was a governor? That wasn't great. I mean, there's lots of things we can talk about why Ronald Reagan's trash can, but it's all good. People got to eat it. John Patriot, if I just correct your name, I'm not sure. What's my take on JoJo? I don't know who JoJo. Oh, Jo Jorgensen. I was considering voting for her. Obviously people can disagree with this. Like I was considering voting for her like before Trump. Like he was always off the rails, but some of the things he was saying, like when he said a year before the election that he couldn't guarantee the peaceful transition of power, I was like, oh shit, I'm gonna have to vote blue. Like, because like locally, I try to vote like whoever just makes the most sense in terms of like putting in like policies or like where they're gonna focus on spending and stuff that makes sense for like local community. But at the federal level, typically, I'm not a big fan of Dems as a whole. So, like the DNC, right, establishment Democrats, because like when you look at the left, like within like the American political spectrum, there's different groups, right? You have like establishment Democrats, you have like your liberals, you have kind of the outside left, and things like that. And the outside left's a really small group in comparison to these other ones. So, yeah, dude. I mean, Jimmy Carter seems like a pretty real one, dude. I know he's always out there trying to help. Maybe a little naive. It's like the realities of this country and what we can and can't do. But Jimmy Carter seems like yeah, I think you have a hard time saying like any U.S. president's a good guy. But if there was one, I think I agree with someone's take. It might be Jimmy Carter. So, yeah, old guard, new guard, Dems, progressives. You got the socialists, right? The commies. So, and that's the thing. Being a bad politician doesn't actually make you a bad statesman. It does make you a bad politician, obviously, though, right? So, can I admit 6M was a lie at least? Lenny, what's 6M? Bush Sr. was your boss? In what capacity? One up, if you can expand on that. And that can happen, right? Good men can be terrible leaders. Because, like, part of being a leader is getting people to buy into your vision and be willing to act upon it, right? So, at the federal level, both sides are uncaring. Yeah, that's facts. A little reductive, but facts. I don't like Beto that much, but I don't really know too much about him. Like, all I know from Beto are like clips I've seen from him on media. It seems kind of disingenuous to me, but like, I don't know the guy and I haven't really paid attention to what he's doing. So, like, I can't give like a hard take on him. If we held president standards in the beginning we do now, we'd have no country. That's probably true, Sadie. I mean, worst president of all time beyond. I mean, Andrew Jackson comes to mind as a pretty bad dude. As a really bad dude. But yeah, most people probably seem disingenuous these days, honestly. But Beto flips too much. Is that what someone said? Do you guys like Beto? What's up, Tua? How you doing, bro? Lyndon Bain Johnson. Lyndon Bain, yeah, I don't know how to evaluate him. He said some pretty ugly-ish. FDR wasn't the worst. FDR was I don't know. I go back and forth on FDR with certain things. Definitely some ugly things attached to him, but he also put into place some pretty important things that we still do to this day. I like Teddy Roosevelt. If I'm gonna take like a perspective, like what's good for America, right, and kind of forget about like our impact on other things, I'd say Teddy Roosevelt was pretty solid. All these things like kind of depend upon your perspective, right? So if like I'm gonna compare like Republicans to Democrats, like one of the first things I think about, because we all have things we care about. Like we all have things we care about and things like we focus on, right? There's single issue voters. We shouldn't be a single issue voter, by the way, because life's a lot bigger than that. Like something I really care about is how US foreign policy impacts Iran, right? The regime, people there, right? So when it comes to things like the nuclear deal, sanctions, stuff like that, I care about that. And so like, for example, in that regard, from my life, I think Republicans have actually been better on that issue, right? But is that like a big enough thing to like ignore all the things that I think Republicans aren't good about, especially like in today's climate? No, not a fucking chance, right? So like it just everything depends on your perspective. Like, are we talking about 330 million people here? Are we talking about like how we impact things globally, right? Because if you're talking about how we impact things globally, like, and I've used this example before, do you think a kid in Afghanistan right now gives a fuck about Democrat or Republican? No, they both probably suck in his eyes, right? They both had a hand in the destruction of his country in some degree, right? The destruction of his home and things like that. And obviously, I think that's complicated. We could dive into that too. But it's like, no, you don't care about that. If you're someone who's been kind of the victim of mass incarceration in this country, do you really care about the Democrat versus Republican debate at the national level when both parties are pro-cop, both parties seem to pump money into the cops, things like that? Probably not. But if you are someone who is, typically, and again, a lot of people who are marginalized are, people of color, Black, Indigenous, all that, they're going to be impacted by our criminal justice system and some shit I just talked about. But, if you're someone who is trying to vote in Georgia, right? If you're someone who needs an abortion in the South, if you're someone who wants marriage equality or the right to adopt and things like that, you're going to probably care about the difference between Democrats and Republicans, and validly so, right? So that's why everything's a matter of perspective. Need to stay in our lane. Iran needs. I don't think that's what Iran needs, bro. That's not staying in your lane, by the way, Tommy. It's a little bit of a contradiction there. So what Iran needs actually is for Western powers to stop interfering, right? And the Iranian people need support so that they can handle regime change themselves. That's what the Iranian people need. I'm cool with that. You can call me the Antifa Sasquatch if you want. I think Antifa has some things to get wrong. I don't like some of the views on free speech. If you look like Rose City Antifa and you look at some of the literature they promote, I don't agree with all of it. But like, shit, easy to pick between them and what they oppose. Easy to pick. So I don't. We got is the groomer talk going down now? What I drove you to, Clyde? Cool. If I got that kind of power, that's what's up. I'm the assistant TO, the regional manager of Antifa. All right, nice, Shark. Assistant 2, the regional manager of Antifa. Clyde Armstrong, where you at? Citrus Heights, California, 916. If you look my name up, you can probably get my address if you're that serious. I'll see you soon, I guess, bro. Matt Dasmalchi, 1T, Dastmalchi is the last name. So. Boom, 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 boom. Clyde, I'm just going to tell you right now. I've talked about this before. The problem is, this goes like one of two ways if you were serious, because we both know you're not serious. You just run your mouth in the comments. Either it's bye-bye for me, and that's like, oh, well, I was asleep for billions of years. Guess I can sleep for billions more, right? And then, like, let's say you miss, though. Dude, I'm going to market the ever-living shit out of that. So this message you don't like just gets bigger. So, I mean, either way it works, bro. I'm pretty close to San Jose, like 2 hours out. I'm around the Sacramento area. So what do I believe? My beliefs are pretty simple, man. Like, so I think that we have to, as a society, establish the human rights that we believe in, right? So we have to define them, establish them, and defend them. I think it's a pretty simple list. I'd like to see things like shelter, food, water, healthcare, and education be human rights within our society. I'd like to see the US be more thoughtful and considerate of how our foreign policy impacts other countries and how our corporations impact other countries and how a lot of things that we point to as reasons why we're so great comes at the expense of other countries and other people. Um, I'm anti-capitalist, but I also recognize that like abolishing capitalism in my lifetime is probably not realistic. So I'm open to doing things right here, right now that can make the system better while continuing to work to change the system, right? You can do both those things. Um, I believe in religious freedom, right? I don't really like religion myself personally, but I don't want to take something away from people if it does help them lead better lives. I think the problem is a lot of religions get it wrong in terms of how people act upon it. But I believe that everyone, has a right to their own spirituality, their own beliefs, and as long as they try and live a good life based upon that, they try and do right by their neighbors, their friends, and family, and shit like that. Cool. I think that life has meaning. I think it's all up to us to determine that meaning. I'm not sure there's an objective meaning in life, but I do think that when we consider that our actions can impact other people, and we know that we don't like pain, we don't like to suffer, and then we connect that with the reality that our actions can cause that for others, right? There's meaning in that. So we should try and, you know, do positive instead of negative, right? So those are some things I believe, I guess. Hey, what's up, Junior? Yeah, I'm just letting the hair go, man. I don't have a favorite Austrian painter. I'm not very knowledgeable when it comes to like art like that. So what's up, Danny? Organizing in NorCal? Something I need to be doing better. Um, Something I could probably be doing better. It's kind of what I'm hoping to do with the media, though, is create an organization of my own through this, right, where we can kind of do things like that. But the only type of things I do beyond like my day to day is just I'll food bank in Orangevale. But that's about it, man. What you up to, Rational? What are you guys doing in SoCal? One up? Yeah, what's up? One up. What part? I think you said something about Watt Avenue. So you're in the 9162? I appreciate that, Rational. I don't really identify as Antifa, but like if you call me Antifa, cool. Definitely anti-fascist. So Ojai? I don't know what that means. Appreciate that damn TikTok. I think what helps is like, so I'm not going to like to speak for myself, but like what happened to my Green Party? I never know. I was a part of the Green Party. I wouldn't call them mine. What happens to any third party in this system? Not a lot, right? So, where was I going with that though? Anti-fascist is my see. I always like that argument, right? No one's big. No one's more Antifa than the World War II vets who really fought that shit, right? And gave up so much to fight that shit. And what's really sinister about that is, and that's probably like that might be the best that we've ever been as a collective, right? The World War II effort, but even that's kind of like over glorified, and not in terms of what people like your grandfather did, right? There's people who um, really believed in what they were fighting for, and they were fighting against those things. But like when you consider like what our corporations were doing, right, in terms of some of them helping fund the Nazi war effort and things like that, when you consider what the Nuremberg laws were based upon, right, they looked at some of our Jim Crow-ish and things like that. When you consider where outcast Nazis went in the aftermath of World War II, right, our CIA, NASA, and things like that. It seems like we dishonored our World War II vets pretty hardcore as a country without even realizing it sometimes, right? When you consider that Black Americans who fought in World War II didn't get access to GI Bill and stuff like that, right? So there's like lots of dark things attached to that we don't discuss as a country. So, but to people like your grandfather, absolutely. Like brave people, right? A lot of them sacrifice for shit way bigger than them, right? There's meaning in that. That's where I think we find meaning, right? Like, so I don't know. I don't fuck with nihilism. I liked it when I was like 18. Thought it was cool. And you grew up a little bit. Oh, geez, Glenny, what are you talking about, dude? Like 200, I shouldn't even engage this. 230 million stolen kids from where? Like, do you understand how many people are in the world, bro? Hey, what's up, Radical? How you doing, man? People out, yeah, exactly. You can support veterans and you can support like an individual soldier because we don't know their story without supporting the US war machine, without supporting our leaders and the decisions they make, right? And like leftists, we want to consider like systems and environments and how this impact individuals and their actions and decisions. Well, the U.S. military like aims at people who are impoverished or kind of communities of poverty and things like that. They aim at people who don't think they have a real path in life. So, oh, stolen money. All right, my bad, Glenn. My bad. Okay, I misread you. My bad, Glenny. See, I do that shit sometimes. I'll just like pick up on two words and I'll get all hyped, and I'm like, oh shit, got that wrong. I rational, I agree. Like I got like so there's a lot of people who I think would say they're like cool with the media, right? That I'm like would consider friends through TikTok that I've met. That's one of the cool things about TikTok. Like, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of things about this app I don't like. I could probably complain about it all day long. I like to complain. But there's some cool things about this app, and some of the people that I've been able to meet, some of the connections I've been able to like make, I would not have had that opportunity without TikTok, and that's been probably the coolest thing, man. Is meeting some cool people who've helped shape my perspective or teach me new things. So, what's up, Jen? How you doing? Oh, I am, baby. I don't always stay so calm. I just have to kind of stay calm in certain environments. Um, I mean, so like in the vids I do, sometimes I get a little heated because like, hey, what's up, LJ? Been a hot minute, dude. I yeah, I'm letting the hair go right now, man. Biggest producer of greenhouse gases, U.S. military. I don't know if that's facts, but I know they're up there. But yeah, absolutely good point, Tommy. Um, this is the home patrol taking a break. Homie patrol. Hey, thanks. Is a Hispano man? Thank you, man. Appreciate that. Since I got some of you guys here, so Mondays and Fridays we actually do YouTube live streams. Right, Mondays usually I try and do like a one-on-one with someone, kind of pick their brain on something they're kind of invested in, right? Something they're knowledgeable on. And then Fridays we do panel discussions. So I'll try and get like multiple people in to like discuss things. So you should check out the YouTube channel if you like these types of conversations. We go Monday and Fridays at 6 o'clock Pacific time. The YouTube is really easy to remember. It's just youtube.com/meet the media. If you go to my link tree, which is in the bio of my TikTok page, you can find me across social media. So if you want to see what I'm posting on Facebook, you want to check out those YouTube streams, and there's like other YouTube content up there. I have an awesome producer Cheyenne. She's like couldn't do any of this without her. She's amazing. She does a great job of like taking clips from those discussions and putting them up there. So if you want kind of bits and pieces of it, you can find that. If you want the whole thing, once the live's over, we post them, so you can go check out other lives and things like that. Oh, Jen, oh, you got it. So are you in like the Ohio area? Because some people are saying they're around Ohio, and there's some pretty nasty weather happening over there. Tornadoes freak me out, man. Like, there's not a lot that really freaks me out, like tornadoes and hornets and yellow jackets. I think that's like my top list of fears. Oh, and like empty space. I don't like empty space. Like big, vast amounts of space make me feel uneasy. Have I spoken with Destiny on YouTube? I don't think I have. Frankenstein, the new Jim Crow. I can point you to some literature on the Iranian regime. I think everyone should read about that. Frankenstein's my favorite book ever, though. I think everyone should read Frankenstein. Yeah, it's 100 out here right now. It's been hot as all hell. Everyone should read the new Jim Crow as well, though. Honestly, I don't read as much as I need to lately. Oftentimes, I'll just like look something up, right, and then just follow up on it, and follow up on it, and follow up on it. I've been more reading through like that than anything, man. Last book I read, I was reading a book on civility. I'm reading a book from Kierkegaard right now. And I reread the New Jim Crow. That's a kind of heavy read. Like, it's not super heavy. It's just kind of depressing, man. General, I am ready for Trapped. I'm going to see Trapped next Sunday, guys. Rational. The lives are 6 o'clock Pacific time, Mondays and Fridays. So 9 o'clock Eastern. You're West Coast, so 6 o'clock Pacific. Okay, Adam. See, yeah, that's kind of like my story, right? So I used to be conservative. I mean, I was a registered Republican, like at first, for a pretty long time. And even once like my views shifted, I still was a registered Republican, and unregistered for a long time. Now I'm just independent. But yeah, my views used to suck, man. I used to have some pretty shitty views. And then you kind of, get exposed to new ideas. You get a little more educated. You travel some. You meet new people, and you're forced to confront some shit. Do you think Democracy at Work? I need to read that one. Do you think violence is avoidable for the U.S. for the next 10 years? I mean, I think violence is already happening. I mean, are we talking like a Civil War type of level type of thing, right? So, yeah, I'm going to the Trap show, Ghost. I'm 100% dead ass going. I'm going to Trapped. It's like 10 minutes from me. I'm going to be there. I'm going to probably go on live. Like, I'm not gonna do anything stupid. Like, I'm not gonna like go fight the guy because he's already like talked about lawyers. But I'm gonna absolutely let him know that, yo, bro, you said I wouldn't show, dog. I'm right here, and I'm gonna be loud, and he's gonna know I'm there. He's not gonna like it. So I'm gonna let him know that he's a disinformation trash can. And yeah, if anyone shows up, if you're in the area and you show up in some Mute the Media merch, your first round's on me. I'll buy you a beer or a shot. I don't care. Unless you're already really wasted, then I'm probably just gonna give you like a few bucks. You got to make your own decision. Well, no, man. Like, I wouldn't say I was like alt right or nothing like that. Like, I definitely pushed back against like farther elements of the right. But yeah, I was a conservative. I was on the wrong side of a lot of fucking things. If you go check out one of my pinned videos, it acknowledges that, right? It acknowledges like that I absolutely held like racist beliefs. Like I absolutely held like racist attitudes about things. And it's really easy to like act like you don't, right? Because like we're taught, most people, even the racists, are taught that racism is bad, right? But we're taught that it's an individual construct. We don't consider power dynamics. We don't consider, the system, history, and how we can feed into these things, right? With our beliefs, with our votes, and things like that. So once you have that light bulb moment and you start to explore things, like, yeah, it's not a fun light bulb moment, but Mute the Media, communist. Yeah, TJ, I would say if I was forced to like, give you like my ideological vision of the world, I think it'd be great in like an ideal world if, we were a classless, moneyless, stateless society. But do I think that's like going to happen? No. Like, do I think that can? Call myself hard left issueist. That's probably a better way of saying it, Deborah. It is a lightning strike because like it's a really ugly feeling. I don't think Candace Owens is great. I think she's a disinformation machine. I don't really have hardcore thoughts. Not a fan. But yeah, it's kind of like a lightning strike. That's an even better way of putting it. Like it hits, and then you start to be like, damn, what else? So like, because then you're like, shit. So you have that moment, and you're like, that means that how I kind of built my thinking might be fundamentally corrupt. And then you're forced to go backwards and deconstruct everything. I don't think you can deconstruct it all, like no matter how hard you try, right? So I think that's what like education is. It's like the path of deconstruction, right? Because we're all fed things. And then you get to a point where you can hopefully learn to think for yourself in a healthy manner. And then you got to deconstruct the bullshit that was fed to you that you propped up and then built other beliefs on, right? So what's up, Carol? Hey, partner, how you doing? If not, Appreciate that, generic dad. That's kind of you. I like that. What's up, Big Joe? How you doing, bro? I'm assuming you're here because I see people hitting you up with the hitting you up in the comments. Find your TikToks so we could be pastor of political correctness. I don't know if that's an insult or an ask, but do you believe in transgender competition? I try to stay out of this conversation typically because I don't feel like I'm like knowledgeable enough on this, right? But I don't think it's an important conversation because I don't think it's impacting that many people. I think everyone should have the rights to be able to compete and engage and be who they want to be. So I think more importantly than looking at that issue right now is considering that if we were a free and open society where people could truly be themselves and if they can get the health care they needed and the affirming care they needed from like the appropriate age, right? This wouldn't even be a thing to begin with. Like it wouldn't be a problem. So if you care about the trans sports thing, which is not something worthy of how much some of y'all invest into it. If you care about that, then you care about making sure that these individuals get the help and support they should be able to get from an early age, right? You're not going to hit them with the whole like sin religious act, right? We're going to make sure that they're able to be who they are, right? Because if not, you don't actually care. So, and that's not good. Like the thing I'll say about this too is a lot of y'all don't care about women's sports. Like you don't. I know you don't give a shit about the WNBA. You don't give a shit about any of these things. You don't care about the U.S. women's soccer team or nothing. You just care about women's sports once every few months when you see a story that right-wing media wants you to care about. So, and I don't know if that's you, bro. I'm not saying that is you, by the way. Like you just asked a question. I'm talking in general. So. I have actually, Tommy. Pops is on the way back from vacation, and mom is doing well. Thanks for asking, Tommy. That's actually something we suck as a society, right? And I can't speak to other countries, but I know like so for example, my dad's from Iran, right? So like in that culture, we really value our elderly, right? Like it's not weird for everyone to be like in a single house or like a bigger house where everyone's like always over for like family dinners at night and stuff like that. We don't value our parents as they get older. Like we don't value the family. Like it's funny, right? Like we talk so much about the family unit, but we don't actually value it here, right? We just kind of dump our elderly in old folks' homes and things like that, and we don't go see them. It's like fucked up. So Tommy, not a bad comment. Everyone should check in on their parents. Assuming your parents aren't like abusive, terrible people who try to ruin your life, then fuck them. But if you got decent parents, check in on them. You wouldn't be here without them. What's up, Sasha? How you doing? Yeah, rational. It absolutely does. SHP. I don't know what SHAP stands for, bro. You mind? SHAP aren't paid because their labor not valued. I mean, I could assume, but yeah, of course, Carol. Obviously, there's people who do care, right? Like shit, I could be better about catching more dinners with the fam bam and stuff, right? I know I like to do my thing sometimes. Stay at home parent. Oh, okay. Yeah, 100%. So to that point, there's a lot of things that we do. There's a lot of things that people do that help support an economy that don't actually get valued into GDP, right? So facts, John Patriot, big facts. I saw homes of summer people without family end up. It's, I mean, someone without family that cares. So there's a lot of people that convince themselves, oh, this is a great place. They'll be great here, and we'll come see them often. And they see them for holidays, if even. COVID hurt me. Yeah, COVID. The sad thing about COVID is like, I think there's a lot of things that exposed that we should have been able to like build upon and work towards in a better way that I don't think we really recognize as a society. So now I'm like, we're probably never going to get it. But it did impact people in a lot of different ways. Like I was pretty lucky. So like I don't have like kids or nothing like that. So my main job was impacted by COVID, but I was able to go pick up a second job, which became my main job through the pandemic. And so, cause like I'm a young, healthy dude, right? Healthy-ish. And so like I wasn't really worried about being in the public, and I just was making sure I just made sure during the pandemic I was good, right? So like for example, my parents were a little bit older. I wouldn't go in their house, right? We would eat in the backyard or hang out in the courtyard and stuff like that and just chill. Like we wouldn't like get too close to each other, right? We'd social distance and stuff like that. And I always told people, hey, if like you have like people who around you who are like immunocompromised, or if you're worried, you don't want to come to my place, right? Because I'm at the restaurant 5 days a week. Once that wasn't happening, I'm at the grocery store 5 days a week, right? So I didn't feel comfortable like taking unemployment if I didn't need to, right? Because like again, because I don't have kids, I didn't have any type of situation that would hold me down to prevent me from going and finding a job really easily. So I was lucky in that sense. And then because I was able to actually be out in public like that, I kind of took it for granted early on how much the like lockdowns and stuff were impacting people who weren't able to find jobs or weren't able to move as easily, right? Because maybe they had kids, or maybe they were able to like work from home, things like that. And I'm pretty introverted actually. So like I actually love my alone time, my me time. So like just gave me an excuse like to not have to go out and shit like that. So I wasn't exactly sad about some aspects of that. My dad left after the revolution. Rational. He left Iran because he was forced to leave Iran. He actually. So this is a pretty crazy story. I'll tell. It's his story, but he's cool with me telling it. So before the revolution, he was against the Shah. He went to school in India. Before that, he'd been against the Shah. Went to school in India, came back. At this point in time, he comes back. He's born in '57. So he comes back around 75, and then he really starts to get involved in terms of like protests and demonstrations and things like that. The revolution happens in '79, right? The Ayatollah, for lack of a better term, hijacks it, and things get a lot worse, right? So then you have the Iraq-Iran war from 1980 to '88, right? Saddam invades Iran. The Ayatollah utilized that as justification to really, really target political opponents and things like that. And my dad was against the regime. So he actually got arrested while at a demonstration in Mashhad while they were demonstrating against the regime. And he was put in prison. He was actually supposed to be executed. And what's wild is someone he went to school with in India was a prison guard there, and he was able to escape with his help. They both had to escape, obviously, because he was supposed to get executed. So then he fled, came to this country with $25, a little bit of clothes, and no English, and made a life here, which is why it's like I've seen the good and bad of this country, right? So like we can talk about how U.S. foreign policies impacted Iran, right? The CIA coup in 1953, sanctions, our our rhetoric and our part in the nuclear deal, things like that, right? So I've seen some of the ugly elements of this country, right? At the same time, though, I've seen like that this country does provide some good things too. That's the fucked up part about life. Nothing's this either or. I think a lot of leftists sometimes fail to get that, and maybe I fail to get it yet. Maybe I still have too much like attachment to some of my old, conservative foundations, or maybe just because like survivorship bias, right? Things like that. Like my mom comes from a pretty bad background and was able to make something, and it's like obviously there's some luck in all these things, right? No fucking doubt about it. Um, but you can enhance your luck by making the best decision available to you as well, right? So you always have a range of outcomes, a range of decisions depending upon where you're at. And if you're in a better environment, you have a better range of decisions. If you're in a worse environment, you have a worse range of decisions. Um, and obviously, there's some luck involved with all these things. But I've seen the good and the bad, like from my parents' stories and even some of my own things, right? And it's like, that's the tough part, man. Like, this is a fucked up country, right? This country is founded upon some really, really bad things that we haven't reconciled yet. Like, before I jumped in stream, a friend asked me what I think about reparations. And I was like, I support reparations, right? And because we've never addressed like, so we love capitalism in this country, right? But we haven't addressed like what our capitalism was built upon, right? We haven't addressed it was built upon the backs of people who, and like slavery doesn't even, like we say slavery is bad, but like that doesn't really do it, man. Like you got to consider what that entire like institution was. Like we literally kidnapped people, right? We literally stripped them from their families, from their culture, from their history, from their language, from like any sense of humanity. Like we stripped all of that. Then we brought them over here where they were raped, where they were murdered, where they were tortured, right? Like in brutal ways. And we built this country on their backs. Like Like, we built it on their backs, on their bloods, on their sweat, on their tears, man, on their pain. So, and that's never been addressed. Like, we haven't addressed that. This land wasn't ours. We literally slaughtered a group of people to build this country on their graves. Like, that hasn't been addressed. Like, so it's tough for me to like enjoy the good sometimes because I know what this good's predicated on. Um, but that's why I think I disagree with some leftists who want to say like Biden and Trump are the same. It's like, no, they're fucking not, bro. Biden sucks and he perpetuates a lot of these things, right? He stands for a lot of these things. But things can always get worse, is what people don't want to acknowledge, right? Things can always get worse. And as bad as Democrats can be sometimes, right, they have a hand on a lot of these things that we talk about, right? When we talk about immigration, when we talk about criminal justice, right? When we talk about corporate entities and their influence in our political decisions and our political processes, like Democrats aren't very good, right? No doubt about it. But if you think Republicans aren't going to try and take this shit in a dramatically worse direction, I think you're wrong. So, how do we start to change? How do we start to change our government? I think it's a boring answer, but I think it starts at community building. So, like, getting to know people in your community, making relationships there, realizing that you have commonalities, trying to get them to see that we all kind of want a lot of the same things, and voting in people at the local level who are going to try and do that and getting the numbers we need at the local level. And then once you see success at the local level, oftentimes you see a copycat effect, right? So if something works somewhere and then someone else realizes that, they're like, hey, why don't we do this over here too, right? And so on and so forth. But I don't think it's going to start at the national level. It's like, so for example, I'm a soccer coach, right? We're trying to build our club up and we have teams up to like U18, right? So like 17-year-olds, right? And you have teams where kids are like 9 and 8 years old. I'm not going to make the club better long term by really focusing on making like that 17-year-old team better, right? That's not it. Where you have to focus is youth development, right? So you got to bring in as many young kids as you can, right? And try and teach them the right skills, right? Try and teach them the right way to play early on. So there's a foundation there for your club, and then you build those teams, right? And then you can draw more people in that way. You can't do things the opposite way. Like, it'd be great to have your older teams where college coaches are looking and stuff like that, competing at the highest level, right? That'd be awesome because that's a flashy thing and it draws people in your club, right? Because if your club can say, hey, we're a springboard for people to go play college soccer, right? Or we're a springboard for someone to get amateur deals or to get like offers from academies in like Europe and stuff like that. That's a great thing. But if you don't have that, you can't just snap your fingers and create that team if they don't have the foundation to be that team, right? You're not going to change someone's habits at 17. You don't have enough time, but you can mold younger players into that team. So by that same token, you can't start, I mean, we have to be doing things at the national level because that mitigates, right? But I don't think you're going to see like the change you want at a dramatic level at the national level. So. But we need like, there's a lot of things we need, man. I don't fucking know. Go check out Micah Valentine. I think he lays it out really well. He gives good strategy, things that we need to be doing. He's probably the smartest leftist on this app, in my opinion. At least one of them. I don't want to like, maybe I'm not thinking about someone, but I learn a lot from him. So. That, rational, that's a great thing. Yeah, that's a great thing to be single issue on, man. I think you're 100% right. There's a lot of things that stem from how we do things in terms of healthcare, right? How it's like tied to jobs, lack of coverage or inadequate coverage, things like that. So that wouldn't be a bad one, dude. That's a good question. If you had to be a single issue voter, what would be your single issue? Let me see what you guys say in the comments, because that's a really good single issue. Without really thinking, I might pick that. UBI is something I really like. I really support. Anytime you can get capital into the hands of the people, which capital is freedom in this system, I think that's a good thing. But yeah, healthcare is a good answer, man, without really thinking too hard. Yeah, I think a lot of answers coming in saying. Look what you did, Rational. You influenced everyone. UBI does. Yeah, that's where I'd probably go healthcare over UBI, but that's close. I don't know, man. It's a good one. I said I was only going to go for 30 minutes to an hour. So I appreciate all you guys who've been here. This has been a really fun live. Like I said, if you want to check out more of these lives, we always go every week, twice a week, Mondays and Fridays for sure. So sometimes I'll hop on TikTok live, but if you want to make sure you can see me when it's a dedicated time, check out the YouTube page. Again, Mondays and Fridays at 6 o'clock Pacific time. So same exact time. You can check out the link tree in my bio. Go to youtube.com/mutethemedia. Yeah, there's merch. If you go to the mutethemedia.org link, it's in the bio. You can find a merch page. There's some pretty cool stuff. Like you can get shirts, right? The game plan with the merch is that sending make off of that is going to go right back to the things we're talking about. There's not a lot there yet. So like, I think Shai checked on this. We have like, maybe we're sitting on like $200 right now that we've made, all combined throughout this entire process. But we want that to go back to like, things related to the unhoused, supplies, food, strike funds, and so on and so forth, things we've talked about before. But that's the game plan for the merch. We're not going to profit off that. 30% that's not going back into that is going to be 15% advertisement, 15% for like Mute the Media infrastructure, right? So software, paying for our stream, stuff like that, to try and help kind of maintain it. So yeah, cool, producer Shy. All right, thanks, Shy. Also, follow producer Cheyenne. She's good people. Couldn't do this without her. She's a major driving force behind all this. I'm just the crazy guy who talks shit. She organizes everything. But again, if you enjoy this conversation, I appreciate a lot of you guys' comments. Check us out Monday, Friday, youtube.com. Link trees in the bio. You can check out the Instagram page. Any of my content violations from TikTok, I post to Instagram. And yeah, if you want, and then you're in the 916 area and you're like around Roseville, Sunday night, I'm gonna be at that trap show. I don't imagine I'll be there very long because I'm either gonna get kicked out or get tired of just talking shit and leave. So if you're around and you're in some Mute the Media merch, I'll buy you a drink. So anyways, appreciate y'all. Everyone have a great night and remember to Mute the Media.